in this group. I think I'm kind of afraid to be alone in this group. I surveyed these people. I focus grouped them. And they are really, really tired of being accused of either racism or sexism because they voted for Donald Trump. And it's one of the reasons why so many of them did. I sat on this stage with you and got chewed out when I suggested there's a better language to reach out to voters, that the Harris campaign is missing what they're looking for. And I say the same thing here. Americans just want to be Americans, not hyphenated Americans, not female Americans, black Americans, Jewish Americans. They just want to be Americans.
How do you think it makes people feel, black people, women, any person who has immutable characteristics about themselves, to be told every time that something happens that because they exist in a particular role, it is their fault? How does it make them feel?
How does it make people feel when they're told that they're a racist?
No. I mean, answer. But answer my question.
I am, because these are predetermined considerations.
But no.
You were going
You're
to
assuming. You're telling me I'm.
Do you want an answer?
Well, you're not answering my question. You're telling me.
Yes, I'm trying to.
You were telling me that
your response is.
You see this? They quite literally over there just bullying this man. Like, and this is what I really, really strongly dislike about humans and their lack of empathy. They're so egotistical that they're demeaning this man intellectually. Don't even realize it. They're just like, oh, you're not. No, you're not. Like, come on, bro. He's literally answering the question. She's chopping in. I can't deal, bro. I can't deal with people like this. People like this,
in bad faith. I mean, what she is saying is something you're not responding to, because it doesn't address why Donald Trump immediately went to DEI as an explanation without any evidence whatsoever for...
It's a lot of evidence that came out.
What looks to be an inexcusable and certainly a very devastating and tragic plane and helicopter crash a couple of days ago. And instead, you pivot to talking about how terrible it is that some people who voted for Donald Trump are being called racist and sexist. You're refusing to grapple with the central
tension. My understanding.
Frank, it's an option.
Hold on.
Frank, it's an
because
option for Trump.
Because my understanding is of the voter.
Frank,
that is what I do.
It is an option.
What about the immorality and the incompetence of blaming DEI for what happened?
You guys can all jump on me. That's fine.
No. I'm not jumping on you. I'm trying to have a
Yes, you are.
Okay, look. It is an option for Donald Trump to respect his voters and not scapegoat.
I'm sorry, I just want to interject and say, you as the host, you're supposed to go, hey, hold on, let him finish his point. But you won't do that because you won't let him finish his point. These people, man.
In a situation like that, he chooses not to every time. Why?
He is saying, and I do not defend him, and I've not defended him on this program, because there are things that are more important than Republican and Democrat. And it's why some people lost primaries and some people are not members of Congress anymore. I'm trying to tell you the truth.
Well, look, you don't have to listen. I just won my primary, but you don't have to lecture me.
Dude, shut up! Shut up! Shut up! You're entitled ass. Shut up!
Hold on, Mondaire. Let me let him finish.
I mean, if you're gonna throw shots,
Mondaire, just a second. Let me let him finish.
He didn't throw a shot. So saying that I'm not defending Donald Trump is a shot. Bro, telling y'all, I can't work in government. I can't. You see my temperament?
This is why this show is such a challenge for me, because I really am. And I've been on this show and criticized him many times. I've been on this show and praised him. In the end, how do we get beyond how we look? How do we get beyond how we sound? Because in the end, we all have a right to a point of view, and I respect yours.
Yeah, I just don't respect the gaslighting and the bad faith conversation.
I also think you cannot talk about getting beyond all of the...
Bro, I hope this man... I'll keep those thoughts to myself. I don't want to wish bad on nobody. But I'll just say he's the type of person that I want to punch him in his face. I want to punch the... So I know I'm speaking to the older crowd here, you know, my seasoned kings and queens, you know, 45 and older, like, hey, young man, don't do that. I get it. But I'm telling you, I want to. So bad. All right, I'm going to calm down because I'm realizing the hypocrisy in my statement right here. Advocating for violence while also advocating for nonviolence. I'm just saying this guy is getting under my skin with his arrogant like he just intellectually just outwitting this guy. You seeing this guy coming from the most genuine place ever. I mean, he's literally putting his heart and soul on this table for these guys to realize he has no malicious intent. And he's telling the guy, hey, I respect your opinion. And the other guy just got to keep attacking, dog. Like, black people, this is not okay. Black people, it's not okay for us to act like this. This is arrogant. This is black supremacy right here. They got a white guy on here, can't say nothing because you got two black people who want to keep shutting them down. Let that man had been black and them two hoes been white. Totally out margin.
The conversation.
I also think you cannot talk about getting beyond all of those things, race, hyphens, whatever it is, when at the highest offices of the land, you have someone saying, because there is diversity, there is a lack of merit, there is a lack of quality, there is a lack of experience. That is a racist view. That people who have characteristics that they cannot change about them, that don't.
Watch this video. Look, I know y'all like, bro, young man, stop pausing. I get it, but dude, I can't watch this video. Bro, these Democrats, bro, they're incompetent. Are you kidding me? That's racist. To say that, hey, you're not a doctor. I don't want you to operate on my body. Oh, that's racist. What? I don't want diversity, and when somebody's operating on my body, I'm unqualified.
Don't tell you anything about their intellect, about their experience, are by definition not experienced. Do you understand that?
I do, because I listen to this, I hear this, and I internalize it. And for those who feel like they're being marginalized, we have to do more. I agree with you.
It's not even just about being marginalized. It's just about recognizing
I just said I agree with you.
He can't even agree.
No, I'm saying, but look, I'm not trying to use academic. I'm not trying to use academic language to talk about this. I'm just saying that there are people. Look, a couple days ago, there was a Harvard-educated Olympic track star was told that she wasn't qualified to have gone to Harvard, that she was basically a DEI admit to Harvard. I mean, that's just from a human
that's
perspective.
wrong.
That is
we
wrong,
all agree
right?
that's wrong.
Can I ask you a question
we
about
all
this?
agree with that, but there's nothing I can say to you on this panel for any of you that's going to satisfy you.
No. May I ask you a question about
that's
this?
the problem.
So you're saying Americans felt alienated by the way Democrats talked about some of these things.
Yes.
Okay. But do you think that this is the antidote? I think that's the question here. I mean, you can be critical of terms that Democrats have used, but it's not clear to me how this approach is better. In fact, it seems exponentially worse to be scapegoating.
It seems worse because your feelings getting hurt. Because your feelings getting hurt that the Americans are choosing to restore, integrity in America. Like Carly Bone posted, they just refuse to listen. I'm going to take this opportunity to let y'all know that I do have an X and Instagram account. I will have it in a pinned comment. I would love for you guys to join me over there. I'm trying to get in a habit of posting on a regular basis. But anyhow, back to this. If you thought Frank Luntz was the one who was going to make you sick to your stomach, I want you to meet Malik Abdul, a member of Black Americans for Trump, end quote. He is on CNN and has turned on Trump, basically calling him racist. Anyhow, I just wanted to add that context as we continue.
But it's not clear to me how this approach is better. In fact, it seems exponentially worse to be scapegoating, whether it's hyphenated Americans or otherwise, any group of Americans for this tragedy, to be purging government data from websites under the guise of DEI and rooting out wokeness. I guess that's where I think there's a bit of a disconnect here. It's like,
I agree with you.
Okay.
I agree with you. And you're probably surprised. That's the goal in all of this. How do we get to the point when we are judged by our merit, when you're judged by our performance? I've had two experiences. Number one is my house almost burned down in Brentwood. I wasn't even there to see it. And I want the best people possible to be on the front lines fighting that fire. I landed 55 minutes before this plane landed. I could have been on it. So I feel it. I hear this and I get it. And you're correct. And you're
sad thing is Democrats is looking at him doing this, literally pleading with his soul right now, his heart, a genuineness right now. They're watching him and they're Hey, look at him. He's so this, that. He think that. It's like, bro, you can't reason with these people. You meet them at their level, all they're going to do is start yelling, yap. It's going to be this big argument. You try to calm it down, keep it cool. Now they think you arrogant.
And I get it. And you're correct, and you're correct. The question is, do we beat up on it and yell about it and complain, or do we try to get a solution? Do we try to get beyond it? And the problem is, there's nothing I can say that's going to convince you.
But in order for us to get beyond it, Donald Trump and the woke right, they have to stop talking about it. The reason that we're talking about it is because it was a deliberate decision that the Trump administration made. I would much...
Yes, and then after Donald Trump made the statement that this was a DEI situation, everything came out with the aviation director actually making a video saying that he's focused on diversity, leaving white people out completely. The point I'm making with that is y'all talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion, but y'all sit there and discriminate against qualified people just because they white. So I don't want to hear that bullshit.
Have to stop talking about it. The reason that we're talking about it is because it was a deliberate decision that the Trump administration made. I would much rather be talking about the economy and some of the other things that I know that the Donald Trump administration is going to do, but we're not in the now second week of the Trump administration. We are ending it talking about DEI because this was a decision that they made.
And to be clear, our discussion of it is not out of nowhere. It's not something we created out of whole cloth. It doesn't mean that we're harping on something that the American people would rather we not talk about. It is responding directly to something that happened.
And the only person who, to your point, injected race into this is Donald Trump. We could be having a very normal investigation into a national tragedy, comforting these families.
Him saying DEI, bro. Now, don't get it twisted. Diversity, equity, inclusion, obviously. Well, y'all keep saying that it means black. Look, black people, we took DEI as black for so long, but now that it's being used as a slur, oh, we don't want it. They think DEI is black. I've been seeing that narrative around. Obviously, it's not, duh. But Trump brought this up? Really? Trump didn't bring any specific color to this. He just said DEI. Y'all brought this whole racist black.
This is the conversation that not only do they want to have, but they are making it the only conversation around what happened here. And that is not just wrong from a moral perspective, but it's also a missed opportunity to keep Americans safe.
Well, both the president and Secretary Hegseth, I believe, said in that press conference in the briefing room that elevation was probably the issue here. It seems to be the case with the helicopter. And to your point, I mean, they were likely right in the moment, immediately after. And here it has been completely hijacked by something else. I think, though...
That's just a nice use of the passive tense.
Can I just say one thing about that, just because we just had a whole conversation about this crash?
Does CNN ever allow you to finish your point? Like, I'm a reactor. I got a reason to cut in and, cut them off. Well, what's your excuse?
The elevation is a fact, right? They were at the wrong elevation. The question is, and what the investigation will find out, is what actually caused that to happen. And yes, he did say, oh, the elevation is the problem, but then he said it's because of DEI and because of a lack of standards as a result of diversity initiatives. So Trump is diagnosing the problem by saying that the blame is actually on this thing that we don't know had anything at all to do with it.
Right, which is the part where I said then he hijacked the point that he was trying to make about the elevation. But, Frank, you're the master of language, so you probably have a better way of articulating this than I do. The conversation that I do think needs to be taking place in this country, and unfortunately Donald Trump uses DEI as the euphemism for it, is we have lowered standards across the board. We have lowered standards across the board in the name of entertainment, in the name of whatever, and it's happening. It's happening in education. It's happening in sports. It's
Yeah, he almost done. I'll let him finish.
happening in the workplace. And that is a conversation that I think is legitimate and needs to be had.
Listen, I'll go right back to the first example that I made. If you are a doctor, or if I'm sick, I want to go to a doctor. I don't want to go to somebody who has the potential to help, or in a sense, let me start that over. I don't want to go to somebody who doesn't have experience or degree or don't know what they're doing, but they feel like they can do the job based on their color. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want somebody to operate on my body whom I trust, went through school to get their medical degree a couple times over, and they did everything that they needed to do to earn such a position. I don't want to risk my life doing that. So that should go with everything and everybody else. By the way, y'all, this ain't stockings. This is my my workout caprice. What you call these compression shorts? And when it popped up, I was like, oh, that look like some stockings. I had to clarify real quick. Hold on now. But anyhow, the standards in America has definitely been lowered all across the board. I mean, education, you have tests being removed, test requirements being lowered. I know that just looking at my children's curriculum in comparison to when I was a child, there's some things that are very different. Even with the reading, we still have to read a certain amount of words and pages and chapters. These kids just read a paragraph, and that's considered. By the way, I'll make sure your kids are reading these days. Let's read a few comments before we get up out of here. I'm going to see the sentiment. They have no loyalty, zero waste of time. We only have a couple comments here. It says, MAGA sure hates the truth. If it walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, it's a duck. Now, this is all coming as criticism from the guy who, in agreement with the criticism from the guy who posted this, when he said, if you thought that Frank Luntz was the one who was going to make you sick to your stomach, I want you to meet Malik Abdul, a member of Black Americans for Trump. He is on CNN and has turned on Trump, basically calling him a racist. There's such a disappointment. I read it over for y'all, but I don't think Trump did anything wrong. He called D out, and that's exactly what was supposed to happen, in my opinion. If you're getting hired based off of your skin color quota and not based off of the fact that you're able to do the job, that is a problem. And that's what's going on.